Boldwood presents Winging It, written by Emma Murray and read by Caroline Lennon. The moral right of the author has been asserted. This performance is owned by Boldwood. Chapter 1. It's 6 months since my husband David announced on New Year's Eve that he had been offered a job in New York, and I am still awash with a heady mixture of excitement and nerves. I have been on work trips to New York before, and I fell in love with it instantly. But that was when I was single and in my 20s. Don't get me wrong. It is, of course, an opportunity of a lifetime, and on paper it seems like a dream. David's new company is pulling out all the stops to make the transition from London to New York as smooth as possible. They are putting us up in a flat in Manhattan, paying for our 5-year-old daughter Anna to go to a fancy school a couple of blocks from Central Park, not to mention flying us over business class, all for the sake of a year's contract with an option to extend if all goes well. But I can't think that far ahead. When I told my mother the plans, she thought it all sounded too good to be true, and so has started calling David's new company The Firm, and saying things like, "They'll be wanting their pound of flesh," and "There's no such thing as a free lunch." She's similarly unimpressed that we're flying out in late July. "You'll be boiled out of it going there in the summer. You'll drown in the humidity." Followed by constant reminders that the grass is never greener, Saoirse, which doesn't help settle the nerves. Still, I know I have to go easy on her. She's far from happy that we're taking her only grandchild across the Atlantic. And I know those little digs are her way of letting us know that she's going to miss us terribly. She's not the only one struggling with our departure. Bonnie, David's birth mum, has openly shed tears. Bonnie has just reunited with David after years of separation since his adoption, and she has formed a close bond with him and Anna already. I'm hoping she will visit us in New York, but every time I ask her, her eyes take on a faraway look and she changes the subject. I don't want to pry, but I get the impression that financially it could be a struggle. Bonnie works as a rent-a-friend, someone who gives support to people who are lonely or in need of a kind word. I have no doubt that anyone privileged enough to be in her company leaves with a lighter heart than when they arrived. But as worthy as her job is, I don't think it pays very much. David's adoptive mum, Rose, is taking a slightly more stoical approach, making it very clear that she's too old for long-haul flights and those types of Americans, whatever that means, and that she will be more than happy to use the telephone to stay in touch. Jen, my best friend from Ireland, is more excited than I am, judging from her texts. "The shopping, Saoirse," and "the nightlife," and "the buzz." Dee, my other close friend from Ireland, is working a more jealous angle. Her texts peppered with vomiting emojis, and things like, "Big apple my arse." Today is Friday, the last day of school, before it breaks up for the summer, and my final school run in London. I give the head teacher, Mr. Russell, a wave as I walk through the school gates, and he waves back with a neutral smile. "We have come a long way, Mr. Russell and me. I'm sure it's not easy to work at a school where one of the mums, me, has given you a blowjob after a boozy night out, over a decade ago. But time is a healer, and now we have reached that ideal stage where we both pretend it never happened." The organics, on the other hand, the insufferable, judgmental, self-proclaimed super mums, who have recently started a Facebook group called Mums Against Screen Time. They also constantly berate other mums on everything from working full-time to not buying organic food, have not let Blowjob Gate go as easily. Even though I have taken myself off the unbearable class WhatsApp group, I am still subject to their whispers, narrowed eyes, and behind-the-hand smirks. all enthusiastically encouraged by Organics kingpin, Tanya Henderson. At least they're not brave enough to say anything to my face, especially with Bea around. Like pretty much everyone else we know, the Organics are terrified of my best mum friend, Bea, and her pull-no-punches attitude. To my absolute joy, Bea has taken her son Harry out of his posh private school and sent him to Woodvale Primary School. Even better is that Harry has ended up in the same class as my daughter Anna, and the pair have been inseparable ever since. As I round the corner to the playground, I feel the corners of my mouth twitch. There's Bea, standing straight-backed, blonde hair tied up in an impeccably high ponytail, arms folded, in her usual spot right outside the classroom, just in front of the Organics territory. Despite the simple, knee-length, pretty, patterned blue summer dress she is wearing, paired with plain white flip-flops, her stance still screams, "Don't fuck with me." I marvel at her nerve. Before Harry started at the school, I always lounged against the back fence, as far from the Organics as possible, not daring to encroach on their space, pretending to tap on my phone as if I was absolutely fine being friendless. But Bea has no such hang-ups. She has refused to join the class WhatsApp group, and none of the Organics have dared approach her to rope her in to help out at school events. I walk towards my friend, picking my way through the litter of adult scooters, the Organics' preferred mode of transport, ignoring the disapproving sighs and head-shaking, led mainly by Tanya. Bea breaks into a smile as soon as she sees me, and she wraps me in a big hug. "Last day of school," she says, laughing. My stomach gives another jolt as I draw back from her. "How are you feeling?" she says, giving me a playful punch on the arm. "A bit nervous," I admit. I'm sick to my stomach. "Well, I think that's a perfectly normal way to react when you're moving to a different country for a year," she says, in that schoolmistress way of hers. "What time are you leaving for the airport?" "It's an afternoon flight, leaving at 2:30 p.m, I tell her. "Well, I shall be around to say goodbye properly before you go," she says. "Don't!" I say, the word shooting out of my mouth before I can stop it. Suddenly, more than anything else, I can't face the thought of saying goodbye to her, even if she has promised to visit. Ryan, Harry's dad, a management consultant, will be working in Connecticut on and off for the next 6 months, which is enormously convenient, as Bea plans to bring Harry to see Anna in Manhattan before dropping him over to stay with his dad. I'd be lying if I didn't say I had a bit of a moment when I heard Ryan was going to be only a couple of hours' drive away from our new accommodation. Let's just say Ryan and I have a bit of a history, one which I'm at great pains to forget. After all, it's been almost a year since he kissed me in the park, and 8 months since I bumped into him, hammered, at a concert at the O2, and I've managed to successfully avoid him every time he has flown over for a visit with Harry. I'd rather not come face-to-face to him in New York if I can help it. And the thought of David bumping into him doesn't bear thinking about. Not that I'm still attracted to Ryan, because I'm not. Even if he looks a little too like Ryan Gosling for my liking. Besides, Ryan is seeing someone, Adriana, a makeup artist, who is apparently a dead ringer for the Brazilian supermodel Giselle. The thought of seeing two fabulously good-looking people together makes my stomach heave. Bea raises an eyebrow. "I mean, Harry has football on a Saturday afternoon, and you can't be missing that," I babble, desperate to give some explanation for my earlier knee-jerk response. Bea shoots me another look, and I cave. "I'm shite at goodbyes," I say, miserably, fighting to blink away the tears. Bea looks away as if to gather herself, and folds her arm across her chest. When she turns to me again, her eyes glisten. "Fine. No goodbyes then," she says. nudging her glasses up her slender nose. "But you must text me when you're on the plane, and send me some smug photos of the free champagne in business class." I laugh and hastily brush away the tears in my eyes. Bee's expression hardens. "Incoming," she hisses, narrowing her eyes at a point over my right shoulder. I turn around slowly, and there she is. Tanya Henderson, in her summer lycra gym gear of a hot pink tank top and calf-length shiny black leggings, emblazoned with a brand that is too exclusive for me to recognise. "I hear you're off to New York," she says, in a falsely bright voice. There's no point in asking how she knows we're leaving, mostly because she makes it her business to stick her nose into everything. And Anna has told the entire school by now, so it's not exactly a surprise. I take a deep breath. "Yes, we're off tomorrow," I say, keeping my voice steady. "Wow," she says. "How fabulous." I eye her suspiciously, waiting for the sting in the tail. "I mean, I'm happy for you. I just don't think I could uproot my children at this age to haul them halfway across the world, you know? Just when they're so settled in school. Seems a bit selfish, doesn't it?" There it is. The cow. As if I haven't worried myself to death about how Anna is going to adjust to a new school in a different country, thousands of miles away from everyone she knows. Bee steps in before I have time to compose a barbed response. "That's the problem with being handed the opportunity of a lifetime. There are always jealous people around to try and put you down." "Oh, I'm not jealous," Tanya says, with a nasty tinkling laugh. "Far from it. I could never leave London. I suppose I'm the type of person who worries about my kids too much." Bee shakes her head, catches my eye, and gives me a nod as if to say, "It's your turn." She's right. I can't let her fight my battles for me. I've put up with Tanya's shit for too long. "The problem with you, Tanya, and all your friends," I say, deliberately keeping my voice measured and silky smooth, "is that you're nothing but parasites, feeding off the insecurities of other mums because it makes you feel better about your own shortcomings. I fervently hope your children don't end up like you, because we seriously don't need any more of your poison in the world." Tanya's mouth drops open and then closes. It's the first time I've seen her speechless, and it feels glorious. Her mouth opens again, but before she can say anything, the school bell rings. She gives Bee and me a filthy look before whipping around and striding angrily towards her organics bubble. No doubt she will find the comfort she needs from her minions, who will go to great lengths to reassure her that I'm the arsehole, not her. "Nice," Bee says, giving me a little nudge. "Thanks," I say, a little shakily. I've never been good with confrontation, but I am proud that I stood up for myself. And I didn't even swear. Then a little hand slips into mine and a feeling of warmth travels all over my body. Anna is here, and she is beaming so widely that it's hard not to smile back. "We're going on a plane tomorrow," she says, swinging my arm up and down. "We are," I say, just as enthusiastically. After all the efforts we have made to prepare Anna for the big move, showing her pictures of the Empire State Building, which I am determined to get to the top of, and the Statue of Liberty, not to mention images of her new school and the apartment building where we will be living, it's the plane journey that she's most excited about. She shouts the same thing to Harry, who's busy tucking into a bumper-sized bag of crisps, and he says, "I know, you've told me a zillion times," through a mouthful of crumbs. Bee and I start to laugh. It's so funny to see a 5-year-old act like a grumpy teenager. As the four of us walk out of the school gates together, Mr. Russell shouts, "Safe trip," to me, and I give him a smile and a wave in return. I have to say, he looks rather relieved to see the back of me. I squeeze Anna's hand and try to ignore the legion of butterflies in my stomach. Time for a fresh start. Chapter 2. There's nothing quite like walking into a business class lounge with a small child to make you feel like a social pariah. I can almost hear the collective intake of breath as we make our way towards the seating area. Look, I get it. People pay thousands of pounds for the luxury of flying in the executive classes, and the last thing they want to see is a young child who might disrupt their precious experience. But I try to ignore all the hard stares and rictus smiles as I settle Anna into her seat in the waiting area with her iPad. Fair play to her, she's being very well behaved, given that the entire morning has been a maelstrom of last-minute packing chaos. But since closing our front door, I have to say that, at the risk of cursing us, the whole experience has been seamless. The firm sent a car to pick us up, and check-in was also smooth. No endless queuing and pushing through crowds. Business class, how the other half live. David wanders off to make the most of the free snacks. It's hard to believe that just last year he was tearing his hair out over being made redundant. Financially, we were in trouble, and the lucrative ghostwriting job I took on to help fell through spectacularly. The advance I got paid for the book on motherhood that I'd written last year ran out months ago, and we've been relying on our savings and payments from a few small writing jobs to get us to our big move to New York. If it hadn't been for the firm swooping in to save us by offering David a great job in New York with a fabulous salary, I dread to think what might have happened. I've told my agent Harriet to keep an eye out for some writing work for me in the US, but she's more keen for me to promote my book when it comes out in January next year, although I get butterflies even thinking about it. How do I promote a book in a strange country where I have no contacts? Then there's David. Although we've talked about the move inside out and upside down, I still worry about him. He was so happy playing chef, house husband, and spending more time with Anna for all these months of not working, that I do worry that this is going to be a huge adjustment for him. But he has reminded me, time and again, how much he loves New York, that he's been there dozens of times over the years, and that technology is his passion. This was a role he really couldn't turn down, and I just hope my mother is wrong, and they don't work him to death. My phone starts to buzz in my bag, and I don't even bother checking the screen before I answer. "Hi, Mum," I say. 20 pairs of eyes in the row of seats opposite me immediately shoot me looks of disapproval, even though I'm speaking very quietly. Clearly, I have been tarred and feathered by virtue of the fact that I have a small child with me. "You're at the airport, so," she says with a sniff. I don't bother asking her how she knows we're here. She's had mine and David's phones tracked for years. "I am," I say. "And have you checked in your bags?" "I have." "You didn't bring the kitchen sink with you, did you?" I tell her no. In all honesty, for a family that's moving to a different country, we don't actually have a huge amount of stuff. 3 large suitcases, and one of those cases mostly consists of Anna's stuffed toys. Her doll, Rose Bonnie, named after David's adoptive mother and David's birth mother, has been awarded the privileged position of flying with us in business class. "And have the cleaners come yet?" I tell her they're due a bit later. We're having our house cleaned before the new tenants move in. Another bonus of moving away. Not only do we get free accommodation for the year, but we also get rental income from our place. "I hope that fella looks after the place now," Mum says for the millionth time. "It'll be grand," I say, trying to keep the impatience out of my voice. I don't know why she's so worried. David has vetted our new tenant, Caleb, thoroughly, practically asking for his dental records and inside leg measurements. Caleb is a quiet, dignified-looking man in his 60s, recently divorced and looking for a modest house in our area of London. He's definitely not the type to throw wild parties and annoy the neighbours. Nevertheless, David, who is known for his domestic fussiness, has left the poor man a clear set of do's and don'ts for every single part of the house, including the right way for the dishwasher to be stacked and how to clean out the black bins in the front. I have told him not to leave the list. Not everyone is a neat freak like him, but I might as well have been talking to myself, because I saw him slip it under the door as we were leaving. Now listen, don't be drinking champagne on the plane. It'll go right to your head. It's the cabin pressure that does it. I mumble. Champagne is the first thing I'm having when we get to our fancy seats. You don't want to be making a holy show of yourself, she adds. Then her voice softens. How's my beautiful grandchild? She's grand, I say, sitting here beside me, glued to her iPad. I won't disturb her then. Wise. Give her a big kiss from me and text me when you arrive. I will, of course, I say. Although I wonder what the point of texting her is when she knows exactly where I am at all times. That's it so, she says. You're off. I try to ignore the wobble in her voice. If she cracks, I'm a goner. See you on the other side, I say brightly. Bye, love. And she's gone. I take a few deep breaths and do my best to blink away the tears. This is why I hate goodbyes. David comes back, arms full with an assortment of snacks for Anna, and she dives on them like she hasn't eaten in weeks. Everything okay? He says, sitting down beside me. Mum just called. I think she was a bit emotional towards the end, I say, blowing out some air. It's hard on her, David says, taking my hand. And you. It's hard on everyone, I say, thinking of Rose and Bonnie. Still, we're doing the right thing, he says, his voice steady. I nod and try to ignore the little voice inside that says, Are we? Chapter 3. I think it's fair to say that the worst behaved passenger on the business class flight is not Anna, it's me. Feeling overly emotional after the call with my mum, I have gone to town on the free champagne to numb the reality of moving an entire time zone away from her. Bee's text doesn't help either. She has written me an unusually heartfelt message, saying that I'm her best friend in the world, and she's going to miss me to the moon and back. However, she does make me smile through the tears by ending the message with, Now, send me that smug photo of the free champagne, you bastard. So I live up to my promise with gusto. Not only do I send her the photo of me sipping champagne, little finger up in a faux upper-class way, but I also make David and Anna pose with a glass in their hands. Orange juice in a posh glass for Anna. After the hilarity is over, and Anna is settled in an airplane seat twice the size of her, I try to settle down and focus on takeoff. Usually, I love this part of flying. The noise of the engine, the gentle tilt of the aircraft as it rises gracefully into the sky. But this time, I have a knot in my stomach that the champagne just won't shift. I keep coming back to the thought that this is no 2-week holiday to Ireland. This is a whole year, living halfway across the world. Anna, of course, is too immersed in Danny Dare, her favourite YouTuber, to do so much as glance out the window. So I ask the air steward for more champagne. After I polish off the second glass, I decide that this is the perfect time to interrupt David's movie, to quiz him about exactly why we're going to New York and leaving all our loved ones behind. I have done the same sort of thing after a few drinks over the last few months, but have hastily backtracked as soon as I've sobered up, going to great lengths to allay his concerns about cold feet. Now I can tell by his tired expression that this sort of chat is wearing a bit thin. To earn some real money so we have a future to come back to, he says shortly. Fair point. Then his expression softens. Are you sure you're okay about the move, Saoirse? Jesus, bit late now. Of course, I thought. It's just that now that the moment's here, I'm a bit nervous. Me too, he says, stroking my arm. I smile back. We can be nervous together. The air steward, dark olive skin, flashing brown eyes, gelled back hair, comes over with a basket of fabulous-smelling bread rolls and more champagne. Now that both David and Anna are firmly plugged into movies, I decide this is the perfect time to make friends. I peer closely at his name badge, Lorenzo, and use that as a starting point. He is indeed Italian and has been living in London for 10 years. No, he does not miss Italy that much and has never been to Rome. He answers politely and patiently, which I take as a sign to continue the conversation. I tell him all about moving to New York, and I ignore the impatient head-twisting from the puffy-faced, suited, middle-aged man across the aisle, until Lorenzo tells me, not unkindly, to keep my voice down as I'm disturbing other passengers. Despite his soothing tone, I am affronted nonetheless, and decide to stand up and announce to the cabin that I have every right to talk in business class because, like them, I have spent thousands of pounds on the tickets. Which is bullshit, obviously, because the firm paid for it, but they don't know that. My announcement clearly alerts David to the fact that his wife is making an ass out of herself, and he quickly jumps up from his seat, gives me a calming hug, and immediately turns my seat into a bed. The fight goes out of me as soon as my head hits the soft pillow. The last thing I hear before I pass out is David whispering, "Everything will be okay, Saoirse." Anna shakes me awake after what feels only mere minutes of sleep. I try to raise my head, but the pain is too much. Why did I drink so much champagne? "We're almost in New York, Mummy," Anna says, tugging my sleeve. I attempt to smile and my lips crack. Then David's head appears over Anna's. "Well, how are you feeling?" he says, with a smug grin. "Absolutely fine," I say, determined to style it out. I reach for the button and bring my seat into an upright position. "Water," he says, waving a little bottle at me. I grab it and drink it within seconds. Anna settles back with her iPad. "Everything okay with Anna?" I mouth over her head, feeling horribly guilty that her mother's been too pissed to check in with her for most of the flight. "She watched movies all the way here," David says. "Perfectly behaved," he adds with a wink. The subtext is loud and clear. Unlike her mother. Chapter 4. The 2-hour queue at customs is more than enough punishment for overdoing it on the champagne, not to mention the 1-hour wait at baggage claim, and I'm cursing myself for not packing any paracetamol for my thumping head. It's almost 8:30 p.m. by the time we haul our last suitcase onto the trolley. I follow David grumpily as he thrusts our suitcase-laden trolley through the doors to arrivals. But cheer up when I spy David's name printed neatly on a board, held by a stout man wearing a smart uniform of white shirt, black tie and black trousers. Thank Christ, the firm has provided a driver to pick us up. Especially as Anna started to wilt about half an hour ago. After the day she's had, I can't say I blame her. I tug Anna gently by the hand to urge her to walk a little more quickly, but she drags her feet at a snail's pace, so I pick her up and carry her towards the driver. With any luck, she'll sleep in the car. The driver greets us with a curt "hello" and takes over the trolley, and I'm relieved he's not the chatty type, because I'm really not in the mood. A wall of heat hits me in the face as soon as we step through the glass sliding doors to the waiting car outside. Although I've been to New York before, I've never visited in late July, and I can't believe it's still so hot this late in the evening. The added warmth from Anna, whose head is buried into the side of my neck, does not help to soothe my prickling armpits. I can feel my hair springing up. I'd forgotten how badly behaved it can be in high levels of humidity. Carefully, I settle a dozing Anna into a car seat in the back of the limo. That's 1,000,000 times more plush than our car at home. Pluck Rose Bonnie off the top of the trolley and into her arms. Climb in beside her and strap myself in, grateful for the aircon. David sits in the front with the driver and then twists around. "Is she asleep?" he says quietly, casting a doubtful glance at Anna. "On her way," I whisper back, noting her falling eyelids. "It's 1:30 a.m. in London," he says, frowning at his watch. "I'm surprised she's lasted this long. I wonder if we should try and keep her awake until we get to the apartment. Then we can just pop her into bed straight away." I scrunch up my face in disbelief. "Are you taking the piss?" I hiss quietly. "Have you ever tried to stop a child from going to sleep? And if you want her to stay up, then I suggest you get back here and try it for yourself." He takes one look at my folded arms and hard stare, and does a sort of okay motion with his hands before turning around in his seat again. I lie back against the headrest, enjoying the quiet hum of the car as it moves slowly through the traffic-logged roads leading to Manhattan. Despite the months of conversation and endless discussions about what we'd be leaving behind and what we'd be gaining, I can't believe we are actually here, in New York, to live, for a year. The usual voice rises to the surface. "You don't know anyone in New York," it whispers. My stomach turns over. I have had the same conversation with David and Bea on several occasions, and they've both reassured me at length that it will all be fine. You'll make loads of friends when Anna starts school. And on the face of it, they're probably right. Anna starts school in September, less than 6 weeks from now, and of course, I'm bound to meet other parents. But the voice says, "Don't they say it's harder to make friends later in life? What if they don't like you?" I'm so engrossed in my thoughts that I lose track of where we are until much later, when David twists around in his seat again. "You're missing the Chrysler Building," he says delightedly, gesturing towards the window. David has always been a city boy. He loves the bright lights, the crowds, the buzzy atmosphere, the big buildings. This sort of environment suits him down to the ground. It's his happy place. I'm just not sure that it's mine. Anna stirs. "Anna," says David, before the poor child even opens her eyes, "to the right of us is the Chrysler Building. Remember? The one from your book?" Anna opens her eyes and yawns. "Are we there yet?" she says. "Almost, sweetheart," I say, stroking her soft brown hair away from her forehead. "I can't wait to go up the Empire State Building," I say to David, trying my best to match his enthusiasm. David gives me a thumbs up before facing front again. "Now, we're just heading up towards Times Square. The Empire State Building's to the left," he says, staring at his phone. He sounds like one of those guides on a tour bus. Then, after a few minutes, he turns around again, his face bright with enthusiasm. "Anna, do you remember Times Square with all the lights?" "Do you mean the one from my book?" Anna says, her eyes suddenly wide. "Yes," David claps. Anna squeals. A sudden rush of adrenaline flows through me as I see their faces lit up with excitement. Why am I feeling so apprehensive? We're in one of the most exciting cities in the world. There is nothing quite like the bright lights of New York, dotted on every surface, the flashing billboards of Times Square, and the sheer life of the place to make your heart sing. The car moves snail-like now, not just because of the traffic congestion, but to avoid the dozens of people jaywalking right in front of us. It's Saturday night and it's buzzing. I grab Anna's hand. "We're in Times Square, baby," I say, my eyes watery with emotion. "We're here. We made it. It may be daunting, but I just know everything is going to work out. It has to." Despite our new accommodation being located a mere 5-minute drive away from Times Square, the traffic is not kind. If it wasn't for our luggage, I would have got out of the car and walked. Anna, who has finally cracked under the strain of being on her best behaviour for so many hours, has started the whinging. But to be fair, the driver doesn't show any sign that he's disturbed by her. No tutting, or turning the music up to drown out the whines of, "But why is it taking so long, Mummy?" I pledge to give him a big tip when we finally arrive. The man is a total pro. I put my arm around Anna and pull her close to me. I can tell by her reddened eyes that she's way beyond bribery or reason. Now she just needs a big cuddle. Finally, gloriously, the car pulls up to the side of the street and comes to a halt. "We're here," I say, quickly unstrapping Anna from her car seat. I pop Rose Bonnie into her arms and flash a grateful smile at the driver, who has kindly opened the door for us. I lead Anna onto the pavement, or sidewalk, as I should probably start saying, and wait for David, who is busy checking the car for anything we might have left behind. The driver heaves our luggage out of the boot, trunk, and takes 2 of the suitcases into the building, while David follows him with the 3rd. As I wait for David to come back, I pause a moment to take in the building which will be our home for the next year. Of course, the firm has sent us tons of information about it, including a glossy brochure, but nothing has prepared me for the sheer size of the building. I crane my neck as far as it can go, and I still can't make out the top, despite all the city lights around us. It's brown brick, more like an office block, and would be fairly nondescript if it were not for the huge, ostentatious entrance, with an impressive revolving door. Giant gold columns stretching up to meet a chunky gold sign, emblazoned with the name of the building, Ashton Tower. My heart skips a beat. I can't wait to see our new apartment. It's been years since I've experienced apartment living, and I used to love it. Not as much to clean. Less space means less clutter, which means fewer rows with my neat freak husband. So there's the added thrill of being able to lay your hands on everything. David comes back for the hand luggage, and we both thank the driver, handing him a tip before he drives away. We approach the building and enter the revolving door. Once for David, and, thanks to Anna's fondness for this sort of thing, twice for me. There would have been a 3rd time, or more, had Rose Bonnie's plastic arm not become stuck halfway around the 2nd time, sending Anna into a bout of near hysteria. Once we're safely inside the lobby, Rose Bonnie rescued from the perils of death, I dig frantically in my bag and find a packet of chewing gum I have been saving for emergencies. Anna has been asking to try gum for months, but I haven't caved until now. I hand her a piece and her eyes brighten. "We have just enough time before the flavour runs out," I mutter to David, who has been waiting for us patiently to exit the revolving door. "Go ahead and get the keys. Pronto. I'll deal with Anna." "On it," David says, walking briskly towards the expansive, black, circular, marble-topped reception desk that forms a centrepiece to the whole area. Anna and I follow at a slower pace. I take a moment to marvel at the sheer majesty of our surroundings. Giant, brown and cream-streaked marble columns stretch high to meet the white ceiling, which is dotted with dozens of spotlights. The floor picks up the same colour as the marble, but is less fussy in pattern, with cream and brown squares covering the entire surface, giving it the effect of a retro chessboard. The whole decor scheme is a luxurious mixture of modern and old-style New York grandeur. Anna and I reach the desk and stand next to David, who is talking to a short, wiry man with grey curly hair clinging to the sides of his head, but nowhere else. David says, "We've just flown in from London, and my company has booked an apartment here." "Name," the man says in a heavy New York accent, without looking up. David tells him, and the man starts violently banging the keys on his computer. The phone on his desk rings, and he snatches up the receiver with a curt, "Yeah," cradling it between his neck and shoulder. David and I exchange a look. Not exactly a welcome party. Then he slams the receiver down and rises with a sigh. It is then I noticed the name badge on the top right-hand corner of his dark grey shirt. My heart lifts. He may not have given the best first impression, but now I have seen his name, I am positive we will be best friends. "I see your name is Patrick," I say, in a highly exaggerated version of my own accent. "You must have an Irish connection." "Nope," he says, head down, rustling through some papers. I feel a jolt of disappointment. "Not even half Irish?" "No," he mumbles. Or a quarter?" He doesn't answer me. David raises his eyebrows in a "don't waste your time" sort of way, and I sigh. He's probably right, but for a brief moment I had pictured myself winning over the surly receptionist through the simple exchange of lively stories about our shared Irish heritage. Patrick hands David a sheaf of forms to fill out and sign, and I bend down to check on Anna, who's happily trying to feed Rose Bonnie some of the gum from her mouth. I leave her to it and text my mother quickly to tell her we've arrived safely. She texts back within seconds. "Drink plenty of water after all that champagne on the plane." How does she know? But before I have a chance to reply, another text pops up. "I'm your mother. I can read you like a book." I shake my head and put my phone back into my pocket. I'm in no mood for my mother's smugness. There's no way I'm telling her she was right about the brutal humidity either. David hands the pile of forms back to Patrick, who gives them a cursory look before handing David 2 key cards for our apartment. Then he waves towards the elevators and turns back to his screen. As it doesn't look like Patrick will be giving us a hand with the bags, or indeed doing any favours at all, David grabs 2 cases and I take the other, balancing our hand luggage on the top of each bag, and we enter an enormous lift. Anna immediately presses all the buttons, so we stop at each floor on the way up, which wouldn't be too annoying had our apartment not been on the 40th floor. Despite the lingering dull ache of a hangover and the underwhelming greeting from Patrick, I'm excited to see our home for the next year. The elevator finally pings and the doors hum smoothly open. We roll our cases along a worn but clean-looking dark red carpet, passing 3 doors on either side before we reach our apartment. The feeling of anticipation grows as David inserts the key in the door. "Are you excited, Anna?" I say, beaming down at her. "I need the toilet," she says, wiggling her hips. "Excellent timing," I say, as the door springs open. David tells me to go ahead and sort Anna out while he brings in the cases. I hurry into the apartment and try the first door to the right of the entrance, relieved that it leads to the bathroom. I switch on the light and take Rose Bonnie from Anna while she fiddles with her leggings. She glances at the toilet and jumps back with a little, "Oh!" "What's wrong, Anna?" I say, leaning over to have a look, half expecting to see a stray poo floating in the water, but it's perfectly clean. "The water is going to come out," she says, lip trembling. Oh God, I'd forgotten that the toilet water levels are way higher than our loos in London. I explain this to her, and she looks at me, chewing her gum sceptically. But in the end, her tiny bladder overrules any further suspicions, and she finally jumps on to do a wee. While I'm waiting for her to finish, I give the bathroom a quick once-over, and I'm immediately impressed. For starters, it's about twice the size of our biggest bathroom at home, and 50 times better decorated. A pinky beige marble surrounds the oval-shaped sink, and one entire wall is covered in mirrored cabinets. There is a bath for Anna, with a shower attachment for us, and the whole area is sparkly and clean. My spirits lift even higher as I see the neat stacks of towels lined up on a little shelf next to the sink. I step out of the door, dying to tell David how cool our new bathroom is, but my heart slows when I see the expression on David's face. "What's wrong?" I say. "I had a look around. There's only one bedroom," he whispers, looking at Anna, who's busy opening and closing the bottom cabinets in the small kitchenette to the left of us. My stomach falls. "There can't be," I say, in a panicky voice. He runs his hand through his hair and shakes his head slowly. "Shite." Anna tugs on my hand. "Can I please see my bedroom?" David and I exchange horrified looks. Anna has been talking about her new bedroom since the moment we told her about the move. "Well, you can see a bedroom," I say carefully. With David leading, we begin our short walk towards the only visible door off the living area, which I barely take in, my mind clouded in panic at the thought of the bedroom situation. Unable to contain her excitement, Anna dashes past us both and flings open the door. David and I quickly follow, only to find her starfished on a super king-sized bed that takes up most of the room. "I love it," she says, staring at the ceiling with a wide grin on her face. I bet she does. Then she springs off the bed and rushes out of the room, shouting something about Rose Bonnie. "Jesus Christ, David, what are we going to do?" I hiss. "Are the three of us supposed to sleep in that bed for the year? I know it's massive, but it'll be a nightmare with Anna and all her acrobatics." David nods, pressing both sets of fingers against his eyes. A wave of sympathy rushes over me. He hasn't slept for most of the flight like I have. He must be absolutely shattered. "Listen, there must be some mistake," he says, his hands dropping to his sides. "I'll go down and have a word with Patrick on the desk." I calm down a little. He's right. Of course, there has been a mix-up. All this will be resolved soon. David walks out of the bedroom just as Anna marches in, her little arms full of as many soft toys as she can carry. Clearly, it hasn't taken her long to find the right suitcase. I watch her with trepidation as she lays each toy out on the bed, one by one. Her favourite ones closest to the pillow on her chosen side, near the window, with the other, less important cuddlies thrown carelessly towards the end of the bed. I debate whether I should break the news to Anna that this is not going to be a permanent situation, but I decide to hold off until David comes back. Leaving Anna chatting happily to her teddies, I decide to take the opportunity to explore the apartment further. I know we will be moving to a bigger place, but I imagine they will all have a similar layout. I am relieved to find the cupboard-lined kitchen well stocked with enough crockery and utensils for the three of us, and a small but adequate dishwasher for David to stack just so. It has all the basics, yet I can't help thinking I'm missing something. I drum my fingers on the kitchen island, fold my arms and stare around the space again, but my poor befuddled mind isn't working properly. Giving up, I walk out of the kitchen, my eyes landing on a round wooden dining table and 4 chairs positioned just to the left. Perfect. From there, it's a mere 10 Anna-sized steps to the living area, which contains a comfy-looking, squashy, leather 2-seater sofa and a chunky armchair, arranged around a dark brown oval coffee table. Each piece of furniture far too big for the space it occupies. I climb over the coffee table to take a peek out of the window, but aside from the lights and the anonymous-looking building across the road, I can't make out much. A wave of exhaustion washes over me. I step back over the coffee table and sink down into the sofa. I'm not sure what to do next. I'm loath to start unpacking when we're moving to another apartment. Anna comes wandering over, her mouth working slowly, her eyes glazed with jet lag. I pat the couch and she climbs slowly onto my knee. "Are you hungry, sweetheart?" I say, kissing the top of her head. Her hair still smells like the plane. She shakes her head, reaches into her mouth, takes out her gum and hands it to me. Lovely. Apart from all the sandwiches I took for her on the plane, there was no way I was going to chance her rejecting the airplane food. And dozens of snacks. She's had nothing decent to eat in hours. Although, come to think of it, neither have I. But all I really want to do now is get into my pyjamas and go to sleep. I shift Anna gently off my knee, where she flops sleepily onto the couch, and go to the kitchen to dispense of the gum in the lined bin under the sink. The front door clicks just as I'm emerging from the kitchen, and David walks in, looking more dejected than when he left. "What's the story?" I say. But his dark expression says it all. "Computer says go fuck yourself," he says, massaging his temple with one hand. "According to Patrick, there is no mistake. But as soon as I get to the office on Monday, I'm going to call HR and sort this out." I take a deep breath and try to remain calm. There's no point in adding any more stress to the situation. David will sort everything out next week. It will be fine. With foggy heads, we unpack just enough to get ready for bed. Apart from one brief burst of desperate energy, investigating the couch to see if it turns into a bed, it doesn't. We are mostly lethargic, wordlessly moving from bathroom to bedroom in slow motion. Even Anna is quiet, barely making a sound when I help her with her pyjamas. All three of us climb into bed, with Anna tiredly directing us towards our sleeping positions. She is in the middle, at her insistence. Frankly, I'm surprised she's allowing us in her bed at all. Exhausted as I am filled with that unsettled feeling that comes with staying somewhere new. Even up this high, the continuous wailing of police sirens, accompanied by the odd bit of blaring music, not to mention the cacophony of honking cars, penetrates my can't sleep without them earplugs. I tell myself that city noises are comforting, signs that we're not alone, and determinedly close my eyes. After all, it could be worse. At least there are no foxes around, waking me up with their seriously disturbing sex noises like they do back in London. I drift off into a sort of half-sleep, which is pretty much the only sleep anyone can get when a small child is continually doing somersaults and kicking them in the ribs. I must have drifted off because the next thing I know, Anna is shaking my arm, whispering, "Wake up," into my right ear. My head feels woolly, and my eyes are sticky with sleep. I groan and reach for my phone on the side table, forcing myself to check the time. It's 3:33 a.m. 8:33 a.m. in London. No wonder she's up. Christ. I fall back on my pillow and try to persuade Anna to doze with me. But it's no good. She's far too sprightly. I glance at David's side of the bed, harbouring a vague hope that he will somehow stir, take care of Anna, and let me go back to sleep. But, judging by his peacefully sleeping figure, I am on my own. "I'm hungry, Mummy," Anna pouts. Resigned to my fate, I gingerly step out of bed and follow Anna into the kitchen. I rummage in one of the suitcases and find a Tupperware of Anna's cereal, which I packed in anticipation of this very moment. I even have a small carton of milk to go with it, which I have forgotten to put in the fridge. Praying fervently that Anna won't notice the distinctly warm temperature of a liquid that has been flown across the Atlantic, I grab a bowl from the kitchen cupboard and pour it on top of her cereal. With a confident, "There you are now," I bring it over to the table and push it in front of her. Anna looks at it suspiciously, as if she knows something's wrong, but can't quite put her finger on it. I leave her to it and go back to the kitchen to get her a glass of water. Just as I'm reaching into the cupboard, I hear a scream and a crash. I whip around to find Anna covered in milk and cereal, the bowl upturned on the table. "I'm sorry, Mummy," she says, heaving hysterically. I take a deep breath and carry her quickly to the bathroom to take off her sodden pyjamas. Even though I tell her over and over again not to worry, that it was just an accident, she still cries and cries. Still, David sleeps and sleeps. It is only when Anna is in her fresh pyjamas, munching a fresh bowl of cereal, her iPad resting next to her, that she calms down. I rinse her milk-drenched pyjamas in the kitchen sink to remove the cereal and spin around, holding the sodden material with the intention of firing everything into the washing machine. After flinging open every single cupboard door in every possible area of this tiny apartment, I come to the horrific realisation that there is no washing machine or dryer. That's what's missing. Chapter 5. If there was a prize for giving the least amount of shits about anything, Patrick would win it hands down. So now you're missing a bedroom and a washing machine, he says, tapping repeatedly on his mouse. He hasn't made eye contact with me once since I approached the reception desk. And a dryer, I add. Not that we have a dryer at home in London, but at least I have the washing line in the garden. Anna lets out a huge yawn beside me, showing the fresh piece of gum on her tongue. It's the only way I can think of to keep her happy while I'm trying to sort our accommodation issues. I glance at my watch. It's just after 7 a.m. We've both been up for hours. My head feels fuzzy, and my mouth seems permanently dry no matter how much water I drink. David is still asleep, and although the temptation to wake him up is mighty, I am aware he is starting a new job tomorrow, and he needs to adjust to the time zone as quickly as he can. So I have decided to tackle Patrick about the washing machine situation by myself. I place my elbows on the desk and lean over a little, willing Patrick to look me in the eye. I just need to know if there is going to be a washing machine in the 2-bed apartment. Patrick finally looks up, crosses his arms and shakes his head. But you're in a 1-bedroom apartment. I take a deep breath to stifle my impatience. I am aware of that, Patrick, but as we will be moving to a 2-bed when this mix-up is sorted out, I'm asking if there will be a washing machine there. But you're not moving to a 2-bed, he says. I have never wanted to punch someone in the face more. Patrick shrugs and makes eye contact for the first time. His expression is pure boredom. Like 80% of buildings in New York City, there is